But what separates most men from the individuals that does it? Action. So let's talk about the evolution of boy psychology into man psychology. There are 4 hidden archetypes to a man's psychology. You have the lover, you have the magician, you have the warrior, and you have the king. The king is a culmination of balancing these 3 archetypes into a complete embodiment of the divine, of God, of use whichever adjective brings most joy to yourself. So I wrote a thread on Twitter a couple of days ago on this, and I thought I would show you how you could balance these psychological archetypes in your life and become the king, become the embodiment of the mature masculine in your life. So let's talk about the lover first. Now, the diagnosis of man in modern Western culture is the addicted lover. If you are balancing on a scale, man is balanced or over balanced on the indulgence phase, on addiction to sensation, addiction to pleasure. And the modern tropes of gambling addiction, weed addiction, drugs, porn, alcohol, food, whatever you want to call it, are found in biblical reference to the 7 deadly sins. So you're talking wrath, greed, sloth, envy, greed, gluttony. We must reject these 7 deadly sins, these ignorant factors and facets of how we're articulating ourselves through this modern world, and come back to a place of peace. So in order to mitigate the addicted culture that we live in, we need to fast. Now, the definition of fasting is the conscious refrainment from indulgence. So we're taking a step back from some of these modern tropes like addiction to food, but also addiction to stimulation. It might be social media addiction, it might be Netflix, it might be YouTube, it might be over accessing information that is just frying our reward centers. So we must fast. You've probably heard of the self-improvement trite expression of dopamine detoxing, which is simply a fast. You're fasting from stimulation, you're fasting from sensation, you're bringing your psychological archetype of how you relate to the world through feeling back into balance through the mechanism of fasting. Now, the second archetype is the magician, and this is how a man navigates through the world using his intellect, using his mind, using his thought process. The diagnosis of modern Western men is a overstimulation in this regard. So we're always overthinking, which is crippling the magician's energy in regards to how he can strategize his life, how he can use his thought to create his reality. But instead, this is being crippled, it is being lessened in power through consumption, particularly through media, when the ideas that we create aren't our own. They're from our environment, they're from the news that we're watching or the social media we're taking. Now, in order to slow down this thought process and really access the powers of the magician, we have to come back to journaling. Journaling allows yourself to slow down this thought process to a point where you're able to conceive of thoughts in their entirety, and you're able to better they're better palatable, so you'll be able to take the information a lot slower and digest it at a rate in which you can understand and get to the root of that particular thought process. And it's especially valuable when winding down the day, when you've had you're trying to get to sleep, but these thoughts of your financial troubles, of relationships, of work, of what you got to do next, and if it's put down on paper, you slow down that process and you come back to the fullness of the magician, which provides him pause, peace, and equilibrium in using his intellect intentionally rather unintentionally. Using your mind for you instead of using your mind against you, having your mind used against you. So the third archetype is the warrior archetype, and this is a man's ability to take action in his life. The diagnosis of modern Western men in regards to the warrior is insufficient action. We're always paralyzed by our overstimulated thought process or overstimulated feeling that we can't take a action. Most of you know the path to self-improvement, getting stronger in the gym, getting bigger, getting better with women, making more money online. But what separates most men from the individuals that does it? Action. Actually taking action on the processes that you know. So cold showers are a very valuable tool that will allow you to stop overthinking, stop overfeeling, and just get into the present moment, get into the action without relating back to the thought mechanism, without relating back to your ability to use sensation to orient yourself through life. You have to take action, you have to take the plunge. Cold showers are indicative of that. And last but not least, we have the king. So this is really, as I preface, is a culmination of all these powers that be. It is a celebration of the maturity in these three archetypes. If the lover is to feel, the thinker, the magician is to think, and the warrior is to act, the king is how to be. And this is coming to a state of presence, realizing that nothing exists right now than the moment in front of you now. If you're watching this video, there's nothing real outside of the present moment that is before you now. Can you feel the beating of your own heart, the breath in your lungs, the sensation on your skin, what you can hear? These things all anchor you into the moment right now. And whenever you're in social anxiety, you're thinking about the future. Whenever you're in depression, you're thinking about the past. Those things have no bearing on right now. The present moment is the moment of creation. And the king archetypal energy is about relaxing into that moment, embracing it, making love to it, knowing that there can be nothing more important than what you're doing right now. Even trivial things, when you're maybe washing the dishes or doing the laundry. Make it a meditation. Make everything you're doing a meditation right this moment. Can you surrender more and more to the moment in front of you right now? And that is the pure energy of God, the divine, the king. And if you can take something away from this video, only one thing away from this video is, how do I give more of myself to this moment? Can I surrender deeper and deeper? Are my thoughts taking me away from now into the future or into the past? Relax, let it go, surrender. Now is the perfect place for your growth, even if you don't think it is, even if you're trying to rationalize yourself out of it. And that is the energy of the king. So meditation is going to be that exercise for you to better allow yourself to dispel the thought process, the feeling process, and just get into the here and now. So gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this kind of little rendition of boy psychology into man psychology, and how you can use those four practices to bring balance to the lover, the magician, the warrior, and the king. So if you subscribe of anything of which I've said, gentlemen, you can subscribe to me, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Take care.